Welcome back. So this is episode 2 of Cooking with Vincent Price, and I chose 2 recipes from an establishment called the Whitehall Club in Chicago, Illinois. So today's episode is Steak Diane and cottage fried potatoes. So let's do a little bit of back history on the Whitehall Club itself and some of the back history to the 2 recipes that I cook. The timestamps are linked in the description below, so you can jump to whatever portion of the recipes and of the video that you want to see, and it'll let you skip portions that you don't want to see. Maybe you don't want to watch me cook a steak in a disturbing amount of butter, and I get that. So the timestamps will always be in the description below. The Whitehall Club was a private restaurant / dining club located in Chicago, Illinois. The property itself was built in the 1920s, and since then it has undergone multiple renovations. What remains of the Whitehall Club is called Whitehall Place, and it is located inside the historic Whitehall Hotel, again, as I said, in Chicago, Illinois. And it is located on the original property. In Vincent's own words, the Whitehall Club was one of the best dining clubs, private restaurants in the nation. He notes in the description prior to actual recipes from the restaurant that the Whitehall staff gave him some cooking tips, and he happily passes them on to the reader. So this is what the Whitehall staff told Vincent. So number 1 is using shallots for recipes that call for onion and garlic together. I used a shallot in the Steak Diane recipe, so that checks out. The second is to use herbs and spices sparingly so that the actual taste of the food shines through. Yeah, that makes sense. And number 3 is to don't overcook your food. If you overcook your food, it loses the original taste of the food. So those were the 3 tips that the Whitehall staff gave to Vincent. Vincent's book contains multiple recipes from the Whitehall Club, so it is very apparent that this was an establishment that he really liked to eat at. The book also contains a menu with prices. And so from here, I am going to assume that we're looking at 1965 prices. The 1965 is the copyright of the book anyway. So let's use 1965 for any kind of pricing going forward, unless the book tells me different. I chose to make Steak Diane and cottage fried potatoes from the Whitehall Club. From the menu in the book and the menu that's up here, it's the same one. The Steak Diane was $6.50, and an order of cottage fried potatoes is 75 cents. So let's assume we're looking at a 1965 to 2021 conversion, allowing for inflation. So in today's money, a $6.50 Steak Diane is $27. Hang on, I have it written down. Monitor is down here. A Steak Diane would cost $27.58, and cottage fried potatoes would cost $6.50. Steak Diane itself was very popular in the 1950s and early 1960s, so it being in this cookbook kind of checks out to me because we're looking at that same time frame. It is supposedly named after the Roman goddess Diana, which also checks out to me. Diana is the goddess of the hunt. She's the goddess of the countryside, and she is also, fun fact, goddess of the moon. Steak Diane traditionally is a sirloin steak. It's pounded very thin, and it is prepared tableside. It is frequently flambéed in cognac. I did not flambe anything in cognac. I'm terrified that I'm going to have to set something on fire at some point in this recipe book, and that won't go well. Those will be the last ones I do. Back to Steak Diane. It is a very simple recipe, and traditionally, and from the other recipes that I also looked at online, it contains very few ingredients. I made my version with exactly what the recipe in the book calls for. Cottage fried potatoes from the Whitehall Club are thinly sliced rounds of potatoes. They are laid out in an overlapping circular fashion in a cast iron pan. I didn't use a cast iron pan because mine cast iron pan was not big enough. So, okay, I used a nonstick skillet for it, but fine. They are fried in butter, and the butter is what holds the potatoes together. So here we go. Here are the potatoes. Vincent notes in his book that he really likes these potatoes, that there are very few potato recipes that make him want to either eat the potato or cook the potato, which I found interesting. There's some chef's notes in the recipe that say and ask that you not wash the potato or rinse it after you have peeled it, and I assume that is so that you keep the starch on the potato. Here's my super fancy mandolin that I very recently bought. It's a stand-up one, so I am no longer concerned that I'm going to slit half of my finger or hand off. So you make these rounds of potatoes, you lay them out in little circular fashion. That takes forever. The recipe asks that you cut the potatoes 1/8 of an inch thin, and I think I probably got it about that. They may actually have been thinner. Is that even possible? But good old mandolin helped me out. Please ignore the jar of peanut butter on the counter. So all of these recipes use all of the butter. So I melted the butter and then scooped the foam off of the top. So what is going into the pan is a clarified butter. And the butter is what holds the potatoes together, and you just fry and let it go. But yeah, all of them are going to use a lot of butter. These recipes are going to be very butter heavy. I had a glass of wine. So this is basically the finished result. Turn it out onto a plate, add some salt and pepper. So the steak Diane was an experience. It is a sirloin steak that is to be pounded very thin. I did not have a meat mallet. Recipe called for a shallot. Cut the shallot. Really enjoy the shallot. Goes into butter sauce, which ultimately is going to be a brown butter Worcestershire sauce that goes on top of the steak. It was good. And that's the finished result. That's the steak. That's the potato. That's it. Okay, so after the fact, the cottage fried potatoes were fabulous. I would make them again, and I will make them again, like maybe at Thanksgiving or if I'm having people over for dinner when the world evens out. I would definitely make those again. I don't know if it needs as much butter as I used. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe I could increase the potatoes. I cut the recipe in half. And I think going forward, I need to cut all of these recipes in half. So I cut the potatoes in half amount-wise, but then I don't think I cut the butter quantity in half. So that's party foul on my part. But the potatoes are delicious. It's just super thin potatoes, pan fried in butter, flip, flip, flip both sides, salt, pepper. I really, really like them. The steak, Diane, it was good. Overcooked it. I don't think I pounded it thin enough either. And I did not, as I think I probably mentioned, I didn't have a meat pounding tool. So at one point I used a ladle. And then when the ladle wasn't doing anything, I used a 5-pound weight dumbbell. And that worked, but then I was also kind of concerned I was gonna break the marble on my island. So I just kind of gave up and I just fried it. The sauce is delicious. The sauce is 3 ingredients, and I am not a big onion fan, mostly because of the texture. I'm a big texture eater and onions kind of freak me out. Shallot, however, was great. It really is a mix of an onion and garlic. And I'll be damned, but the Whitehall staff's info and recommendation to Vincent to use shallots is spot on. So the steak was good. It's the first steak I've ever made. I'm going to be making a lot of steak. we'll see how they all go. So thanks so much for watching. This was episode 2. Episode 3 is going to be a very simple recipe. It is going to be cookies, because who doesn't like cookies? And I'm craving cookies. So I'm going to make up some oatmeal lace cookies. That's going to be episode 3. I don't remember off of the top of my head, and I don't have the book with me, which restaurant or where in the world this recipe comes from, but it's oatmeal lace cookies. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe if you like, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.